Hello, this is the continuation of that series What is Intelligence, and this is the fourth part. According to one of the popular definition, when there are several possible paths and combinations, finding the best path or optimized one is considered as intelligence. So in this regard, what I am going to discuss today is that very simple optimal solution from an ant, how it will do, to a very complicated system with a series of images and small animations I am going to discuss. We will just observe how an ant, whether it is 2D or 3D, will finally arrive at the most optimal path from point A to point B. Initially, let it be a very zigzag path, even though it is 3D. For the small length of that ant of a few millimeters, even when it is a terrain in 3D, it is almost 2D only, and therefore it is able to make optimal path even in such large curvatures, and it happens successfully unless it is having a curvature like a knife edge. So in more or less all the hilly regions, such a sharp edge will not be encountered by these ants, and therefore finally they will arrive at an optimal path even if it is a three-dimensional point A to point B destination. So the simplest one is an ant trying to find the shortest path between A and B. It is a zigzag, and let us assume it to be 3D also. What it will do is, it will start simply moving in straight lines, and then at the corners it will cut short into a small curve. In this process, it will finally cut short all these curves, and it appears to be like this, and several times it will do like that, and finally it will become a straight line. Very interesting thing, my cousin has sent this link to me. It is Brainless slim mold grows in patterns like Tokyo subway system. A very interesting experiment. That diagram shows Tokyo subway system. Of course it is a three-dimensional, only one view is here. They have developed this using gadgets working for decades. This shows the representation of cities, and at those locations Japanese have spread the food for the mold. The next step is the simple pattern of starting of the mold growth, and it is almost growing everywhere initially, and more so towards greater food, and the pattern gradually becomes something like line pattern. That means the growth shrinks everywhere except at these spots. Now observe that there is no major connection at C. It is then modified into this kind of a pattern where the connections are there at the corners at D again, and some modified path is shown here. And in the further restructure, paths are very less. Most of the paths are taken off. A trial and error basis is done, I think. And the final stage is this, representing exactly the existing Japanese pathway between those cities. This is very, very astonishing. The final thoughts of Japanese scientists An estimated 14 billion passengers will travel in that subway metro system every year. It is done with the collaboration between community dwellings, civil engineering, urban planning. Over decades, they have taken decades for doing this. But this mold will solve this problem just in a matter of days. And that is why we are now thinking whether it is intelligence or not. So now this one is of course from a mold, which is a small fungus like creature, extremely small, brainless as it is given there. A large group of them will finally arrive at an optimal path within few days, as it is mentioned, compared to scientists, remember, with a lot of computer softwares, gadgets, etc. They have taken 1 or 2 decades to arrive at the same thing. So who is more intelligent? Can we attribute this intelligence to small mold like thing? If a robot in one day finally can arrive at the same thing, can we attribute that it is also intelligent? So why I am telling is, according to the definition, finding the optimal path in the quickest way is called intelligence. So according to that definition, these molds are more intelligent than the collective scientists with gadgets. How is this possible? This is a wonderful thing, and lot of such definitions will lead to so many deviations, because there are 200 odd definitions. Now I will give you one more day-to-day example which I have seen already. That is, the size of the ant, of course it varies from a very small 2 millimeters to a big one which is called carpenter ants, that is about 12 to 15 mm, a little big one. They will do wonders. As I have observed, look at this wire system near my house. These are not electric wires, of course. These are the Wi-Fi cables, telephone cables and TV cables, etc. I have shown it in different colors, more or less simulating what I am seeing outside. From one tree to another tree, these ants will find out the wire path. Remember, it has to change. They will be crossing like this. It has to go in one wire, turn in the other wire, go, etc., etc., to reach the other tree. And as I have observed, I have not calculated because I don't know how to calculate the optimal path with such a wire system. As I have observed, they will find out the optimal path. I don't know how they will do, maybe trial and error. And some days, as I have observed, some wires which are touching will be slightly off, so that the ants cannot go from that wire to this wire, which they were doing the previous day. This may be due to some movements in the tree or whatever it is. Then what I have observed is, they will select the next optimal path within a day. This is a wonderful thing, and of course we have to attribute this as intelligence. Ants are known to have this intelligence because their brain size is much bigger compared to their body size. Anyway, all these things will finally lead to a precise definition or lead back to the same old question: what is intelligence? Is it really there or just an illusion? If it is really there, what is the correct definition? Anyway, I will be continuing this series, and thank you very much for listening.